I've traveled around the entire state and I speak about any and all issues that affect middle-class families and Floridians from any and all walks of life. I go to gun conferences, I go to Republican groups to talk to them about sex education, to talk to them about gay marriage, to talk to them about issues that they might not necessarily agree with or really understand. One of them, of course, is sex education and HIV/AIDS. You know, HIV/AIDS is just now in the United States of America. It truly is not only taboo, but it is one of the biggest and most controversial issues of our time. We have over 50,000 people in the United States of America that are diagnosed HIV positive every year. Florida, and this is why it's a big deal, Florida is #1 in the nation for teenagers under the age of 18 being diagnosed HIV positive. Florida is #2 in the United States of America for babies being diagnosed and being born with HIV/AIDS. This might really shock you because I have a little following in the villages, which I love that I can say that a progressive liberal Democrat has a following in the villages, which is Sumter County. It's a population of over 115,000 people. And what's great about that are the fact that they actually have the largest Democratic club in the entire state. The Democratic Club of the Villages has over 1,400 paying members, which is great. I just helped them start a Democratic Women's Club there so that way they can kind of try to elect some people that are, you know, a little more pro-choice and get those kind of people elected to office. So Sumter County, though, the Villages, we rank #1 in the entire country. Again, yet Florida has this record. We rank #1 for syphilis infection in the entire country, and it is in the city of the Villages for people over the age of 65. So, you know what that means, you have a lot of...
They're not using protection.
You have a lot of people who are, you know, over the age of 65 that are still, you know, with it. They're still having fun, and they're kind of thinking the way that I used to think. When I was 16, when I was 17 years old, I thought, I'm young, I'm invincible, this isn't going to happen to me. Well, you have a lot of seniors who are also in that mindset. I'm older, I can't get pregnant, I'm past that part of my life. Nothing can happen to me. I don't have to use birth control, I don't have to use a condom, I don't have to protect myself or my partner, when in reality, all of us do, because there's one thing that HIV/AIDS and that any STD does not do. It does not discriminate. Black, white, gay, straight, STDs and AIDS does not discriminate. You know, last year I keynoted an AIDS conference over in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and Dale went with me. And it was great because in the process of doing so, I've really, you know, and traveling all over the state, one thing has become very clear. There's too much partisan in our politics in this state. It's always about right, and it's always about left. And if you ask me, it should be about what is right and what is wrong for helping move forward the ideas that help to shape the fabric of our lives. So David knows, I got through the Victory Fund and Institute, which is part of the Victory Fund, the Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund, which helps openly LGBT people run for office. I got accepted into the Victory Fund and Institute. I went through a training in Jacksonville this past May. And I sat there for 3 days, took notes, put a presentation together, and I thought to myself, at the end of this 3 days, I feel like, based off of the feedback that I've gotten from other people around the entire state about their issues that they are passionate about and that I'm passionate about, like implementing background checks on any and all gun sales in the state, trying to undo so much of the horrible policies put forth by Governor Scott and the lack of the fact that we do not have Medicaid expansion in this state. Yet Florida, this is what drives me crazy, because like Bill Clinton says, math and arithmetic does not lie.
That's right.
Florida, yet again, another record that we hold. We have more people enrolled in the Affordable Care Act in the state of Florida than any other state. Over 900,000 people enrolled in Obamacare in the state of Florida. It's wildly popular with seniors. Number 2, might surprise you, it's Texas. It's Texas.
And guess who's governor?
Exactly. I know Dale and I are friends with Wendy Davis, and it was awful to see her lose last year, but this is the disconnect, even though we see it last year in 2014. The 6 states that decided to raise the minimum wage all went heavily Republican. I don't understand it. It's such a disconnect. And speaking of that disconnect, going back to HIV/AIDS, the state of Florida, we have a governor right now, which this, it's great because in midterm election cycles as well as presidential election cycles, we all have a choice to make. Lots of are very hard choices.
Cheryl.
Last year, I was very proud in the Democratic primary to stand with my friend, who I've known for years, Senator Nan Rich, when she ran in the Democratic primary for governor against Charlie. But I knew that after that primary, we needed to do everything that we could to make sure that we elected a Democrat as governor, and doing everything that we could to elect Charlie Crist. Obviously, that did not happen, and we see the repercussions just now. Just this year, Rick Scott, it's called ADAP, it's the AIDS Drugs Assistance Program. One of my pills, I take 3 pills, one of my pills for 30 days is $1,900 a month. I can't afford that. I'm $90,000 in student loan debt that I have to pay on. Can you think that me or any middle-class American, anyone that is not named Magic Johnson, can afford that? Because they can't. It's outrageous. So one of the first things that Governor Scott decides that he's going to do in the state of Florida, he cuts ADAP by 1/3. When there are people that I know in this state whose CD4 counts have gone below 200, which is AIDS, and they are on a waiting list. They are on a waiting list. They're getting opportunistic infections. They are getting lesions. They're getting many of the opportunistic infections that killed so many people in the 1980s and the early 1990s. Totally preventable opportunistic infections. But this is a perfect example. Bad politicians are elected by good people who do not vote. I wasn't happy with Charlie Crist, but I knew that the alternative would have been bad. This was awful. So, I'm going around and talking to people. I've really started to formulate my opinions, and one of the things that I am very open about talking about is my own story about being HIV positive. I know I look like I'm 17. I get that. I know I look like I'm a little Mormon church boy, pretty innocent, but pretty far from it. When I was 16 years old, I dated around a little bit. We had this thing back then called MySpace, before Facebook. And, go around on some dates and whatnot, meet some people. So I had my junior year of high school approach. I was 17 years old, mind you. That semester was the first time that I was ever able to fit in my schedule a health class. So I had taken a health class, and right before Christmas break, some woman from the local Canton Health Department had come in, and she had given us a lecture on abortion, reproductive health care, STDs, and HIV/AIDS. And I knew that HIV/AIDS was sometimes commonly associated with men who have sex with men. But at 17 years old, I thought to myself, well, I slept with 3 people. I really don't think this is something that I have to worry about. But that week, right before Christmas break, I happened to have a cold sore in my mouth, and I thought to myself, just listen to this crazy woman who's teaching here in your health class today. So I went up to her and I said privately, well, what do you think that I should do? And I showed her, and she said, well, you might want to just go in and just get it looked at. Have you ever had unprotected sex? And I said, yeah. I'm dating a guy right now that I've been with for 6-7 months, and he and I do not, have protected sex. So I went ahead and I went in, and this is the kicker. I joked when I was in Amsterdam that if there's ever a time to do this, don't do it around Christmas. So 2 days before Christmas in 2008, at 17 years old, I was diagnosed HIV positive. While a junior in high school, my whole life, I was not expecting that at all. Fast forward 8 years later, I totally see that in some weird way, in my own personal belief, that it's kind of a blessing in disguise, and that God blessed me with an opportunity to be able to go around and talk to other people, to share my own experiences, especially with young people and young girls who are making decisions and choices and starting families, babies, having babies, making these very, very hard choices that are going to affect not only their financial security for the rest of their life, but any and all decisions that they will make up through the rest of their life until that child is 18 years old, assuming they take care of that child. So, in doing all of this, and realizing that I now have an obligation to go around and to share my story with so many people, I talk about the fact that, going into that waiting room, going and talking to that nurse, and submitting myself to any and all tests that were needed. And I actually had thought to myself, I'm not going to do the HIV test, I don't want to. And I had said that to the nurse, and she said, just do it, just do it. So I said, okay, well, whatever, you're going to be taking blood anyway, so go for it. So I do it, 20 minutes pass, what's going on? 40 minutes pass, what's going on? An hour passes, and finally I'm called out of the waiting room to go back into a room with this nurse, who now, granted, I look back, she was my age, she was about 25 years old. And she was so fun in the interview process to talk to about, the decisions that I have made in my own sex life. So I had known that her whole demeanor had completely changed, which I did not understand. So I knew that there was something wrong. So she sits me down. She goes through an entire list of syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, everything. I'm negative for everything. I thought, my gosh, this is great. But I knew from that health class that the one thing that I did not want to get was anything that started with an H. As you remember, anything that starts with an H, whether it's hepatitis or HIV, or HPV, it is not curable. Speaking of which, going to HPV, 70% of males in the United States are infected with some form of the human papillomavirus, and they don't know it. Having unprotected sex with all of these girls, especially young girls, passing it on to them, and that dramatically changes their chances and makes the risk even higher for ovarian and cervical cancer, which is awful. I have a friend going through that right now. She's my best friend in high school. She's 24 years old and she has HPV. It's awful, which is why it's so important to talk about these things. So I get up and I think to myself, I'm going to start putting on my coat. I'm good to go. Thank God. I'm great. She said, you might want to sit back down. So then I thought to myself, being politically incorrect right now, shit. Fuck. Right. This really sucks. Why? She said, well, we did a rapid test, which is an initial blood test. When you go and you get tested for HIV, they'll take your blood sample and they'll put it with a solution, and they'll see if it reacts a certain color. That means that HIV antibodies were found in your blood. It doesn't mean that you're officially diagnosed HIV positive at that moment, but it means that you are preliminary positive, which means that, again, HIV antibodies found in your blood sample, and they take about 2 weeks later, send it off to the state capitol for further testing, more in-depth blood work, and they look at that and they see whether or not you actually are HIV positive. So, of course, 2 weeks later, on January 8th, I was officially diagnosed HIV positive at that time. But it was awful going through that process because you think that someone at 17 years old, it changes your whole life. My whole life had changed earlier that year because I, for the first time in my life, actually got involved in politics. We had an amazing primary between then Senator Barack Obama and my girl, Hillary. And I learned so much from that in so many ways that actually that primary and working on the Hillary campaign and then working to get Barack Obama elected, it really instilled in me a sense of belief and faith that everything happens for a reason. So I, of course, go home and I tell my mother, who's a nurse, and I say this to people, and when I've done the interviews, I say to people, my mother was a nurse, and so many then come back to me and say, well, how is it that your mother is a nurse and you didn't know more information to protect yourself? All right, well, each of you, to some extent in your life, were raised by a mother or a father or a grandparent, an adult. Can you recall when you sat down and had an in-depth conversation with your parents about condoms and birth control.
Right.
Mind you, I'm from Ohio and I'm a great Baptist. Do you think that I'm talking to my mother about men who have sex with men? It never came up. It's just something that kind of don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. So of course, I go home and I tell her, and it was all, I think of that, and I think that was one of the most defining moments in my life, was telling my mother 2 days before Christmas at 17 years old that I was HIV positive. Because in that moment, and still to this day, that is the only moment that I can honestly say that I can really recall what it is actually like to break somebody's heart. My whole life changed. It not just changed for myself, but for my mother, brothers, for my father, for my grandparents, for my friends, for my boyfriend. And my on and off boyfriend that all through high school, I have been dating him on and off from 8th grade until 11th grade. We were in show choir together, we went to the same high school swim team, tennis, everything, the community theater together. It really hit home in my school district. So of course, he gets tested and he finds out that he was actually negative, which was great, and I'm so happy about that. But the moment that he found out, of course, that he was negative and not positive like I, was the moment that he decided to, tell everybody at school that I had been diagnosed HIV positive over Christmas break. A little pissed off about that for 2 years, but he and I are actually friendly with each other now. But I really believe that everything happens for a reason, and I don't know that had he not done that, that it would have pushed me to actually get involved with the Greater AIDS Task Force in Cleveland, Ohio, or the Red Cross, or getting involved and actually stepping up to the plate and talking about HIV/AIDS and putting it at the forefront of everything and anything that I will do in the future. So I think it is so important that we have these conversations and that we change the outlook and the faces of what we believe HIV/AIDS is, not just globally, but in the United States of America. And knowing that HIV/AIDS is not a gay disease. It's not. There are actually more heterosexual African-American women living in the United States of America that are infected with HIV than there are gay people. The 2 states that lead the entire country for HIV/AIDS is Louisiana and Mississippi. It's the South. Why? Because so many, we see it, where you hear are in a purple state, granted it is purple, not red, but there are some northern parts of Florida and other parts of Florida that are pretty conservative. You have these, and I hate to be partisan when I say it, but it is oftentimes Republicans and conservatives who are in my county alone, and I live in Pinellas County, which is a pretty purple county. I have Charlie Chris that lives there. I have Alex Sink that lives there. It's great. But when a child goes in middle school to learn about sex education, they can opt out of abortion. The parents can opt their child out of learning about abortion and HIV/AIDS. And I find that so offensive. I find that so offensive because that's almost saying that not only is it taboo, but it's reiterating the stigmatism and stereotype that AIDS is a gay disease when it is not. So that's why I find it so important to go around and talk to people about the importance of investing in sex education, which includes reproductive health care, which a very